$24,000 per year, claiming that unexpected increase in dwelling units had raised his cost. Although the city council approved this increase for 1 year, Mr. Mayor continued to receive the higher rate until his contract expired in 2019, resulting in an overpayment of $48,000. This payment was not authorized and is now the subject of this case.
Okay, great. Okay, let's do an opening statement for the defense.
Your Honor, the law firm of Minkiewicz, Moats, and Dobbins-Beck represents our client, James Maher. In 1996, Maher entered a contract with the city of Newport. On March 12, 2014, Maher's contract was renewed for an additional 5 years, lasting until June 30th, 2019, where Maher would receive $274,000 per year. In 2017, the expected new dwelling jumped 400 units from what Maher expected would grow 20 to 25 units per year. This was not within the budget of the original contract. To help to support the addition of new units, Maher requested an additional $24,000 per year. This new contract would be approved by the city councilman that would allow Maher to receive the additional funds for 1 year. Maher continued to serve the city of Newport until June 30th, 2019. In July of 2019, Alfred Angel, the new director of finance, asked Maher for $48,000 as he claimed it was additional payments from the contract. According to new terms, the contract Maher signed in 2017 was the new standard that both parties had agreed upon. We feel that James Maher does not owe the city of Newport after agreeing on a new contract and serving his community for 23 years.
Okay. All right, great opening statement. Okay, so just to recap from where we've been we're in contracts, right? And this is the case where there's no disagreement on the fact that there was a valid contract in place. In 2014, a valid contract that had agreement, consideration, contractual capacity on both sides, legality was completely met. So that is not the issue here. The issue is what happened in 2018, 17. I'm not. What was the year it started? 17 maybe. So the issue is that, right? And so the general rules that we're going to be applying to this case are as follows. When you have unforeseen difficulties in executing a contract, you can potentially modify that contract if the following conditions are met. If it's equitable and fair because of the circumstances not anticipated by either party. If one party knows or should have known that there was of the difficulty or risk, that no modification is allowed. And if there's a modification, you could actually have a rescission of the old contracts, means you take away the old contract and you replace it with a new contract. Okay, so those are the rules that we're playing. This is the sports contracts. So with that being said, plaintiff, why don't you give your statement of the case? Okay, let's just, and I've got a few other slides here. I don't know if you want to reference the slides or not, but this is actually the city of Newport right here. It's on the waterfront. It's a little hard to see. Let me turn off the lights for a second. I just want you to get a sense of like what Newport is, right? So does that help a little bit? So it's a little bit on the waterfront. This is what it actually looks like from the air. It's a tourist location predominantly in beautiful Rhode Island. I mean, that looks like someplace that you really want to visit. They have mansion tours. It's a very upscale city, right? So this is what it looks. This is the overhead view of what it looks like. There is this view is kind of out on the point, but there is a more densely populated part of the city over there. My thing doesn't show up on the screen. That's so weird. So anyway, but over here is a more densely populated part of the screen of where the actual town is, right? But it looks like a very lovely place. Okay, so that's kind of the backdrop. So let's turn the lights back on. And plaintiff, go ahead. Why don't you give your opening statement? Why don't you give your give your opening statement? But so what's the statement of the case? Why should we listen to you?
For the elements of the contract, the 2014 contract was a clear agreement requiring Maher to collect all refuse for $274,000 per year, regardless of the increased housing. No new consideration existed for the additional 24,000, as Mayor was already bound to fulfill these services under the contract. Both parties were capable and legal, making the original contract fully enforceable. The contract terms were drawn up with their legal intentions. However, the additional payments were not authorized under the modification of the contract. Unforeseen difficulties. Not foreseen by either party, the city of Newport argues growth was predictable. You should have known the risk, difficulty, no modification allowed. Given Mayor's experience as a trash service provider, you should be aware of new houses being built in the neighborhoods and plan accordingly. Equitable and fair modification. While the city authorized a 1-year increase, any extension was without formal approval and was therefore not fair or equitable. Since both parties agreed to a fixed contract term and rates, an implied modification of rescissions requires clear mutual agreement, which was not provided beyond the first year.
Okay, that's really good. Okay. In addition to the elements that we've got listed up here, one of the underlying justifications, rationales for why we don't allow just these changes in contracts is the potential presence of duress or coercion, right? You're halfway through the contract and, you know, somebody's building your house and they just come to you and say, I need an extra $10,000 to continue building your house. Just unforeseen circumstances, right? And so you feel like you're being extorted because if you don't pay it, then they stop working. They stop working. The existing work may get destroyed by the weather or whatever else. So it's a form of coercion or called the holdup game. So that's a very important part of this. Now the city, now you're the city, right? You guys are the city. Okay. So would you like to address now the presence of duress or coercion? This idea of the holdup game, or why this particular instance of contract modification might not be allowed because of these circumstances.
So it said that the defendant and the city council had agreed on a 1-year contract, and then as it went on, the city ended up having their focus was on another case, and while they were focusing on that case, they never really addressed the extension that he wanted, and there was no actual agreement from the city side that the extension was going to be made, but the defendant ended up taking that as an agreement when they were silent. So
okay, so even though the city council agreed to a 1-year additional sort of increased payments for 1 year, they didn't agree to the second year, but the payment still kept going, correct?
yeah.
So all right, dependence of fraud and coercion or pressure in an improper way. Is there anything you would like to speak to on that front before we go on to the okay? All right. So for the defense, go ahead.
Our client Mayor was did enter a contract with the city, but was not aware of the 400 new units that were coming in of housing development, and because of this, he wasn't prepared to have to deal with those because the estimate was about 20 to 25 new units per year.
Okay, so the estimate was what was the estimate based on? Just like prior history, or
yeah, just like every year it's usually about 20 to 25 new units, and it's stated in the contract that about 20 to 25 new units will be built and not 400.
Okay, all right. So we've kind of laid the groundwork. On you guys' notes pages, you guys will see that it's a two pages of notes. You can okay, so let's go to some statements of rebuttal then. We're already through the statements of case. What would the city of Newport like to say in rebuttal to this idea that the contract was in place, They got modified. Why shouldn't we just go with the modifications?
Well, Mr. Mayor had a pre-existing duty to collect all refuse generated within the city, including the extra 400 units, as stated in the original contract.
Okay. Any other arguments you guys would like to make for the,
Um, The council's continued payment at the higher rate does not apply a new contract term or a modified agreement by conduct. Mayor continued services at an increased rate. In good faith, leaving the city's council's initial adjustment extended through the contract term. And mayor acted under the assumption that the lack of further action by the city council in 2018 and 2019 indicated continued consent of the contract. However, it did not.
okay, all right. Okay. So any rebuttal statements from the,
Our client stated that the new contract of 24,000 was a making of a new contract and terminating the existing one that had already happened through the court. Because of these new 400 housing units, our client had to dedicate additional time and services to new housing developments. Also, the city at the time lost money. Well, we lost money because the city had unnecessary wanting to buy new bins.
so explain that a little bit. So what's that about? What are the new bid?
The city bought new bins so that it would match the city's aesthetic, I guess. But these bins did not comply with our trash trucks. So we had to go out and buy all new trash trucks. We had to put manual labor like on the trash trucks instead of the arm where it does it, which put more time into the trucks, equipment, technology, and employees.
Okay, okay. So your argument is that it's like, compare that to how you would do another city, because you do multiple cities. Like how would it compare to do Newport versus like the city next door that use the automatic arms?
With the additional 400 new units, we also had to then put additional time into that, but also we had to put additional time into Newport because of these bins. So overall, Newport became a bigger and more time-consuming place compared to anywhere else.
Okay, okay, all right. So the city of Newport is, and so this is the geographical outline of the city of Newport. So let me ask questions to both. What did you want to respond to any of that?
Yeah, there's no timeline of when they implemented those trash cans, so we can kind of assume that that Mr. Mayor already knew about that and that the duty was the same.
So, okay, so it's been that way for some time. Like these aren't new trash cans. This isn't a new trash delivery service. So when he entered into the contract, he knew about the need for that type of trash delivery service. Okay, so and why does Newport have that type of trash delivery service? Like I mean, so this is the city right here. So why do they not use the mechanical arms, that kind of stuff?
It's just to look good. It's just an aesthetic thing.
Okay, because they're a tourist destination, so they're very hoity-toity, even in their trash bins.
Yep.
Okay. In terms of the geography of, okay, so let me start asking some questions on both sides, okay? From to the garbage collector, like, if your garbage people are out there every single day, is it the case that you don't know about new housing developments, or why should it be something that you're not anticipating if you're watching, or your people are kind of driving by areas where they see new houses going up? How does that make it an unanticipated circumstance for you guys as the trash collector?
Well, overall, we entered a contract with them for 274,000 a year back in July 1st, 2014. And as this time goes on, like I said, we learned about the new 400 units plus making our running nutrient strips, employees now having to spend more on employees and working on new housing developments and putting additional time into the company. So overall, Mayor is at the end of the contract going to renegotiate at the end of the 2019 year for more than 274 instead of renewing it. So overall, it was kind of just inevitable. And instead of waiting till the 2019, he decided to ask for a raise sooner.
Okay.
And that prior time before, when Maher worked from 96, he had never seen an increase that big before. So
Okay.
even before that new contract, 2014, this is completely new.
Yeah. So this is the map of Newport we've got up on the screen right now. So, how does this map work for you or against you? Like Newport's kind of constrained, right? It's not like they can annex the ocean and build up some more houses out there. So how does that work if you, I don't know if you didn't know that they're gonna add 400 new housings to this? I mean, look at this area of the map itself. Like, where are they adding these new houses? What do you think? I mean, how does that adjust your expectations of what new houses are going to be developed?
And I think from a logistics standpoint, you're not really accounting for all that, whether more stops, the traffic, and then taking it to other facilities, like just inconvenience and more pricey than you expected.
Sure.
In general, our contract had a $274,000 a year to remove trash for an estimated 9,000 houses. With these houses coming in and now knowing that we have to spend more money, more time, and more houses for this, with an increase in houses, we need to ask for, more money, inflation and all that as time has gone on.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Okay. To the city. Your resort destination, I mean, isn't growth of something a good thing? Like, isn't that something that you're always trying to promote? Growth of your city, growth of your town? How does that play into what you think their expectations should have been for the growth of your city?
Yeah, so in terms of the housing, it, Mr. Mayor has been working for collecting the trash for at least 3 years, or in the city. Like, he should have been able to perceive the increase in residents due to the tourist destinations, as well as being able to help the city increase in their overall economy as well. So
Yeah, I mean, it's it looks lovely there. I mean, it actually looks like someplace I want to go visit. So how does that, and it's right, I mean, right on the ocean, it's beautiful. So it seems like a very desirable location that people were moving, and people have been moving there, right? I mean, there's been a growth of the city by 20 to 25 homes for 20 years, right? So it seems like that. So anything that you guys would like to argue for the fact that these circumstances of the growth of the city are not unanticipated, not unplanned, not whatever else?
I also think when it comes to city growth, it's not always a linear line. It doesn't always stay the exact same. You're gonna have some years that will do better, some years will be down. So with the past few years being around the same, there is eventually there's gonna be a year it's gonna be good, a year it's gonna be bad. So
Okay.
that was something to go into.
So why did the city agree so easily to the cost increase? If they felt like this lacks consideration, but they still agreed to it very quickly. So why did they agree to it to begin with?
Well, I feel like Mr. Mayor's tenure is the main reason for the original increase. We've worked with him for the last 20 years, so I believe that it was deserving. However, I think his tenure also works against him because if you've been around the city for the last 20 years, then you can probably notice a noticeable increase and be able to foresee that you're gonna have to do more work.
Okay, so the big longevity that you guys have had working together should tell him like the city of Newport's growing. He should be aware of those things as he's entering into the contract.
Yes.
Okay, okay, all right. Okay, right, okay, so why don't we just do the final statements? For each side, give a reason why it is that you think that you should win. Let's start with the plaintiff.
Well, according to the original contract, Mr. Mayor's pre-existing duty was to collect all refuse generated within the city, including the extra 400 units. So I don't believe that the increase should be proportionate to the money that he receives, because the increase isn't exactly the same every year. It also would have been completely fair and valid not to have given a raise in the first place. And an applied contract is not in place here because the city of Newport explicitly stated new houses are included in mayor's pre-existing duty.
Okay. All right. And for the defense,
We believe James Mayer should not be required to repay the $48,000 to the city, as additional payments were necessary to respond to the unforeseen challenges that arose during the course of the contract. While the original agreement accounted for 9,000 houses, the city's unexpected development of 400 additional units significantly increased the amount of work. Mayor, who was not prepared for this sudden growth, had no choice but to request additional funds to continue delivering essential services. The abrupt nature of the request was driven by the financial strain Mayor's company was under, as they were losing money due to insignificant resources, new infrastructure requirements, and staffing difficulties. These factors were outside Mayor's control, and he was forced to seek a resolution sooner rather than later to avoid financial losses. Furthermore, the city's approval of the additional payment for 1 year was an acknowledgement of the increased cost and demands placed on Mayor's company. The contract effectively recognized the new reality of the service requirements. Therefore, Mayor should not be held liable for the additional payments, as they were a necessary adjustment to meet the city's unanticipated growth and infrastructure changes, and were in no way an unlawful or an improper request.
okay, all right. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna break you guys up into 3 jury pools. Let me give you some jury instructions. Here, I'll grab this for 1 second. Okay, so what I want you guys to do is there's 4 main questions that you have to answer. They're on the back of your page, so you can just answer them. I don't have a separate jury page, but you guys need to answer them together. So come back here and have them ready to go. So it will be, does this case show the presence of duress or coercion? Was the modification equitable and fair to both parties? Were the circumstances not anticipated when the contract was made, or were there other factors that should be considered in this case? So, all of that being said, that's what you need to, I'm gonna number you off into 3s. Group 1 will be in here. We've got 2 additional classrooms, 1 there and 1 down here. I believe they're a little empty. So group 1 will be in here. 2 will be in that one, and 3 will be in that one. When 2 and 3 are done, come back in here and we'll do like a recap. So I'm gonna number you guys off. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So there's 5, there's a group of, you're going to be in groups of 5. So 4 of 5 have to agree. There can be a consensus on those 4 topics. And the other thing is, like, if you are assessing damages, like how much of those damages, like if you feel like the city should recover, you have to tell me how much they should recover. Okay, so okay, all right, let's get you guys out. And group 1, you guys can head back there. 2's over here. 3's down the hall to the left.
Question.
You can if you want now. But
Yeah.
what's the question you want to ask?
So I wanted to know who made the estimate? Who came up with that? Was it someone from your party or your party?
So that there would be the city that would, see, the city is the one that would come up with the
The
initial
20
estimate.
to
But, well,
25?
they send it out to bid, and then people bid on the contract, and then they just award it to whoever bids the amount. So it's
The estimate of 20 to 25 new houses.
Oh,
That's
that's-
what I'm asking.
I don't think that was in any, you don't actually think it was in any of the contracts. I think it was just like, that's the previous experience they have.
Okay,
I don't think it was like, I don't think they didn't write that into the contract.
gotcha.
So it was just, that was the previous experience.
Okay.
Okay,
And then the other thing was more for you, but how much does it matter that you go from 2014 and then in 2016, there's a new president and there was a big like housing boom after that happened? That's not foreseen really, because you have a Democratic president and then you switch that, which no one could have guessed.
Well, this is a pretty blue state, so I don't think it made any difference.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's interesting historically, but for contract analysis, we can't really leave that off the table.
Leave it out.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's that part of it. But that is true. There is some truth to that, but it's not, yeah. It's, so, okay. Are you ready? Okay, so you guys go ahead and deliberate. All right.